Hi, this is Bill Kearns from Blue Kernel IT. This video is about the Academic Test Demo endpoint. This project is the WCF endpoint to be used in the Academic Test Demo N-tier application. Here I have three projects. There's the WCF classes and service contract itself, a console host, and an import of test serializer library. The console host is here. I have program. You can host your service as a Windows service, or in the console host, I do this for debug mode, or an IIS 7 and above. You can host services. So here in the console host, I call a service host and use type of and send it the type that I'm hosting. So that is a reference to this project. This project has a contract. There's two method signatures that we're using as operation contracts, send XML instance and get XML instance, along with their arguments. This method is what serializes the XML into the database when you click export in the front end, and this method returns a stream of the deserialized, or the stream of serial XML that we get out of the database. That's part of the reason that I like using the stream, because it's built in. I was using a data set here and could not get my data set on the client side to deserialize correctly. I kept getting file I/O errors. So the workaround was just share the test serializer library project that does the serialize and deserialize functionality based on the XSD and everything else that corresponds to the test instance. So here I have my impl class that implements iTestInstanceService. This is the implementation. Call up my data source, pass in a connection string, and new up to the test serializer, and provide the arguments that you need to serialize and deserialize, and eventually call the data source with the parameters and things that needs. So here's the data source method that saves it. I assign a grouping that's just a GUID, and use the same grouping for however many pieces of 4096 bits as rows that it needs to save the file. And here's the method that would get the XML, which simply returns the stream returned from the data source that's reassembled in the correct order. So if you notice, here's some link, some of the newer things, languages in .NET 4.0 language. So beyond that, the most important part of this project for a WCF service, and the hardest, is the binding. I've experimented with several bindings. Here's the TCP binding, which is good for inter-network, LAN-side communication, and the web service dual binding. So this is routable, but it's not interoperable, meaning a Oracle client or someone using a JAX client could not utilize this web service. I stuck with the basic HTTP binding, which is interoperable and routable. Set some of the default values so I wouldn't time out. And so here's my binding. I assign the binding with the service that has the service contract, which on this side is the interface side, basic binding configuration, and assign that all to my endpoint test manager contract. So, and then my endpoint has two base addresses, one for NetTCP and one for HTTP. And along with that, I have the other endpoint is my MEX. This allows you to get the metadata for the web service. So then in my class here, on building and testing for faults, add a few breakpoints. I would implement logging after this end-tier application went into production. That way, problems down the road would be logged during debug mode. This is good enough for me. So I'll go ahead and click Start, and my console host pops up and remains open. So that's good news. Thanks for your time. This is Bill Kearns from Blue Kernel IT. Take care.